Well, the sun is out here at MotoAmerica in Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin, and you're looking at live pictures right here on BN Sports of the Supersport Superstock 600 race. And you can still see that coming down pit lane, there's a shine on those rain tires. So it is still a wet race. Dunlop did not approve tire changes. The race has been shortened to 7 laps from 11. And you can still see that there's water coming off. So the move right now is, of course, rain tires. You want fully grooved tires on this one. But the question, Jason Pridmore, is how long is it going to last? The wind is not howling here, and we know in Wisconsin that if it's really windy, the track dries out, lickety-split.
Yeah, and it started to blow a little bit here a little bit ago, but how crazy the weather is up here. Every year we come, the weather's always a problem, or it's always a talking point.
Yep.
And we've got that again. You've got a bunch of riders going out there now on a wet track, but it's fully sunny, and it's not going to take long as we go into turn 6 here. But you'll start to see the dry line, but it's still wet, Greg. You can see how they're kind of tiptoeing around just a little bit there.
But the other point too, Jason, is that there's different asphalt here. You just saw that corner was freshly paved.
Yes.
Okay, it's darker. And all the riders I spoke with say, when you get on that new pavement, it has unbelievable grip. So when you're on a huge stretch of the old pavement, they're like, everything's fine. But when you go from old to new to old, that's when they really instantly feel it. And in the rain, in the wet conditions, it's worse, isn't it?
Yeah, well, for sure. And I remember when they very first paved the chicane here, the chicane had the most incredible grip ever. So you could hardly wait to get back around for this two small turns because the grip was so amazing. Made you feel like you're at a big MotoGP track, and the rest of the track was pretty sketch. And you can still see that there's a lot of mist coming up off the tires right now, and so on. So that black patch to the right of your screen where they're going over right now at the top, that thing is notoriously, it's one of those things that you always say, hey, whatever you do, don't go over that bit. This is all the little area down at the bottom headed towards Canada Corner. This is an area that they've made a lot better over the years. Trees used to cover that whole section.
Yeah.
So it would rain, and then the trees would just sit there and drip for the remainder of the race. So even the whole other track could be dry, but then that one section would be wet. So yeah, you get a good look there at Jason Aguilar. Headed up out of Canada Corner. Brandon Posh just in front of him. Looks like Joe Giannotto just behind them. And the riders coming back to the start-finish line through the last corner here.
All right, so the thing to look for in the Superstock 600 championship is Michael Gilbert, number 55, your points leader, was leading this championship. 9 points over Nick McFadden. Nick McFadden is out from a broken collarbone sustained earlier on today. So that leaves Jason Aguilar, who you're talking about, who's 17 points adrift. The question is the 55 available to restart? Now, Shane Richardson
is restarting
the 26, who was on the front row, who didn't get to start the race. This is a full-blown restart. 7 laps to go. So a lot of craziness going on here at MotoAmerica, as we have seen in years past.
What they'll do is they're going to come here. You can see they've only got one crew member out there. They're going to do they get everybody kind of gridded up. That was a sighting lap. And unlike what we would normally do, where we'd be sitting on the grid for 15 minutes now and doing interviews and things like that with Hannah, what they're going to do is they're going to get everybody to come to a stop. Everybody will be kind of in their grid place, and then they're going to send them back out. You can see the 26 of Shane Richardson on the left-hand side of your screen rolling up to his spot on the front row. So that is great to see. So whatever must have happened to him might have been something small. Maybe something came apart. And you can see J.D. Beach there with Nicky Hayden replica helmet on right behind his teammate Garrett Gerloff there also.
So a bunch of riders from Owensboro, Kentucky that live or play there, going with the Nicky Hayden replica this weekend from Arai. Cleaned race support out. Arai helmets, cleaned them all out of Nicky Hayden replicas this weekend. And Jeff Wheel from Arai, I spoke with him and he was happy about that. So here we go. This is going to be the warm-up lap. This will be another shot for these riders to get a look at this racetrack. Number 26, Shane Richardson. An incredible story. Palmetto Motorsports Team New Zealand out of Wellington, New Zealand. He and his crew, like Jason said earlier, just travel around in a box van or sleeping in the box van when they need to. Just the pure racer story on the front row. After conditions, by the way, in qualifying, it wasn't dry and it wasn't sunny. I mentioned 2:18.1, the track record set last year. And they were getting pretty close to that in the dry yesterday, but it was mixed conditions in qualifying. And so the best time that we got in qualifying was a 2:33. But it went all the way to the back of the field. I mean, the difference between a 2:33.4 in first place position and Jarrett Nassany was a 2:48.6.
The coolest thing is, though, is that Shane's never been to any of these tracks.
I know.
So he's going and he's doing this with his friends, and they've come over from New Zealand, and they're doing their thing, and they're experiencing it all. You know, like you said last night, they had a motor they had to swap, and a head they had to swap off the motor that they put in the bike, because one was a Supersport, one was Superstock. So
cam timing and do a bunch of different stuff just to make it
just to get him on the grid. Or qualifying, and then he goes out and puts it third at a track he's never seen. Yesterday he got a lot of dry laps around here, but it just goes to show, if you've got a lot of talent, a lot of skill, it doesn't matter how quick it's going to get you to learn a racetrack.
So now the question on everyone's mind, even under the Monster Energy Yamalube YES Graves Yamaha tent, is can we get this one underway? So it looks like, actually, I just got word that they were able to change tires.
Yep, we did yep.
And it looks like the guys that are racing on the M4 team, so there's like the M4 X-Star Suzuki team, and, well, not M4 Med-Age Suzuki, because that was Nick McFadden, he's out, but M4 Ridiculous Racing, that they were able to put dry tires on. So there's some people out there that we've heard, as we actually just got word from team owner Chris Ulrich via text message. He says, all of my guys are on dry tires.
Interesting. And, you know, the hardest thing is going to be how much will they give up in the first 2 or 3 laps. I would say that if it's an 11 lap race, I think that'd probably be a really great choice. 7 laps, I'm not sure yet, so we're going to have to wait and see how that works out, and get a good look at Connor Blevins. He had problems this morning also. Ashton Yates is there. I see Nolan Lampkin coming through in his rain gear. That's going to get really hot, because that rain gear, when the sun comes out, boy, you start really sweating inside leathers. And but you are starting to see a few dry lines, and with the sun out, it can get dry quick. But if you're going to put anybody on dries, Valentine DeBees is definitely not a bad guy to do it. He's going to have a lot of experience. It just mean the first couple of laps are going to be a little bit harder for him.
Garrett Gerloff's going to look over and see that Valentin DeBees is on those dry tires. So I'm sure that's going to mess with Valentin's head just a little bit. I mean, mess with Garrett Gerloff's head a little bit, as Gerloff's just trying to keep his focus forward. So this is one of those situations where Yamaha's on rains and Suzuki's on normal slick tires. So here comes Valentin DeBees at 53. M4 X-Star Suzuki. Now those tires definitely wet. Been in this situation before, seen this situation before several times over the years. Where tire, you know, JD Beach last year, I mean, the tire choice becomes critical here. Valentin has nothing to lose with 2 DNFs, and the way he sits in this championship, 41 points behind Garrett Gerloff, throwing caution to the wind after 2 DNFs. So here we go. Let's see how the traction control works as they launch. Valentin DeBees, not the start, as those dry tires able to just rip and grip. Here we go, Garrett Gerloff with the hole shot, heading into turn 1.
We're going to have to see just how much Valentin gives up, Greg. You see a lot of guys going underneath him right now. He's going to have to just tip it into turn 1 as the 2 Yamahas, they're going to disappear in the distance for the first 2 or 3 laps. This lap being so long, like we've said, Benny Solis has slid himself up into 4th. Shane Richardson's just behind us. Jason Farrell now goes into 4th, right behind him. So the 2 Yamaha guys are trying their best to check out. Look at all the dry, Greg. That's what Valentin is hoping for, that these guys are going to wear out their rain tires on that dry pavement. Shane Richardson, Jason Farrell going elbow to elbow. Jason Aguilar there. There's Connor Blevins with Ashton Yates next to him as they head down into turn 5.
Good look at the crew. So the question here really becomes, how much of an advantage can the Yamaha boys eke out over Valentin DeBees on that Suzuki as the track starts to dry? One of the other things you're going to start seeing is, as these guys start looking for, they're going to have to look for moisture. So you may see some really weird, crazy lines that you normally wouldn't see, as we have a lot of riders interested in this. A lot of the riders that are going to be competing later on in the Motul Superbike class, the Bazaz Superstock 1000 class, they're looking on eagerly to see what these riders are doing as fans camped out in their favorite corner they can see themselves on. And of course, there's a lot of concern on the faces of these fans and teams.
No, it's exactly right, Greg. And right now with these guys, they're coming down out of the carousel. Jason Farrell has moved himself up into third. I saw back there in the background. What a great result that would be for the local fans and Jason himself. But these two guys here, they've kind of started to check themselves out a little bit. Jason's going to do everything he can to put his head down. Now you can still see there's a big puddle. That's been there since way back in the day. It's always there, that puddle, every time it rains. But all down through here, Greg, it's pretty wet. It's still pretty wet. So we're going to be looking to see how much Valentine might be losing in this first little split. I'm looking at our timing and scoring screen on my right, and he's not in the top 19 right now, so he's gone backwards a fair bit.
Oh, yeah.
And that's going to be kind of standard right now. He's really going to be pulling for these last 3 or 4 laps to really be dry, and that's where you're going to see him make up a lot of his time.
So Garrett Gerloff leads the way from JD Beach. And what a race we have. A drying racetrack here at Road America. The leaders on full rain tires.
And they're going to be searching for those damp spots. You can see right down the center of the track there, it's definitely gotten dry. So they're going to be searching for that stuff.
And what you're going to look for really is take a look at how squirmy things get. There's a look at Benny Solis, Shane Richardson on the 26, leading that Superstock 600 battle. So across the line, it was Shane Richardson, but Solis got around him. And then 91 is JC Camacho behind him. So again, yellow numbers with red backing, that indicates the Superstock 600 class. So we have two. Oh!
That was a big one.
Oh, Richardson up and out of the saddle, trying to get a good drive. This is one of those tracks, though, Jason, where we go to where Supersport really sets itself apart from the Superstock 600 with that little extra motor and ability to tune those bikes.
It certainly does, but these conditions definitely will bridge that gap a little bit more, Greg. So you're exactly right. As we get a Jared Nassasny there going up, looked like he was just going through turn 3. You can see the track is drying. There goes Jody Berry through, Jason Farrell through, Benny Solis, Shane Richardson still chasing him down. So we've got, this is kind of a nice little mix that we have here, because we got 2 Yamahas, then we got 2 Kawasaki's, a Honda and a Suzuki. JC Camacho there running in 6th with Jody Berry running 7th, and then another Yamaha just behind him, Jason Aguilar, who notoriously will tell you that he struggles in wet conditions. This is a fantastic job by Jason so far, especially to take advantage of Michael Gilbert and Nick McFadden's misfortunes this morning.
So early days in this race, 2 of 7, long laps. We're talking 2:37 range, but that's starting to come down. M4 X-Star Suzuki has Brandon Cleland on the 975, Valentin DeBees on the 53, and M4 Ridiculous Racing Suzuki, Daytona Anderson on the 104. Those are names and riders we're going to start looking out for here, especially around lap 5. The question is the track going to be dry enough and they can start taking out huge chunks of time? It just depends. I mean, you could see JD Beach starting to slide a little bit, and you would think with the different riding styles of Garrett Gerloff, who likes to have his wheels in alignment, and JD is comfortable with having it slide sideways.
Wow, see it snap on him there going up the hill. That's because what happens is, Greg, is you start getting a little bit more confident where it gets dry. You're just trying to squeeze that throttle on a little bit more and a little bit more. And right now, Garrett's making JD push really hard. So JD probably feels like, man, if I can just stay close, he's a dirt tracker. He's going to be used to tires squirming around and moving around underneath him. And he's probably got a little bit extra motivation under his belt right now for the last week.
But also the question is, with normal race rubber, JD can get away with that because they're designed for it. But when we're talking about super soft rain tires that have a lot of groove, which means not a lot of rubber hitting the road compared to a slick, then JD might put some extra heat in those tires with his riding style as well. And this might go in the favor of Garrett Gerloff. We continue to watch 35 is Benny Solis, 26 Shane Richardson. Then here comes this crazy battle as now the 37 of Connor Blevins is starting to charge forward as well.
Yes, he is. That's a good move by Connors. He just slid underneath Shane there as he went into turn 1. Look at this big battle between all our Superstock guys. You can see Brandon Posh is just on the back of these guys now. Also on his new TSC Yamaha R6 ride, doing a great job. But those 2 Kawasaki's of Shane Richardson and Connor Cummins are right in the tailpipes of JC Camacho right now as they head down into turn 5.
So here we go. You can see that dry line getting bigger and bigger. You can see it right here on the restart of the race that it was already dry right in the middle.
Yeah, right. It was already getting dry, wasn't it, Greg? And it's only going to just continue to get drier and drier. And I'm looking down my screen, and I'm just not seeing any of the guys yet with the dry tires really being able to make this work. I think the one thing that might go against them is the shortening of the race. If it was an 11-lap race, I think that they would be in a lot better position. But still yet to be seen. I don't want to say that too early and then start watching DeBees ripping off laps that are going to be 5 and 6 seconds a lap quicker than our leaders.
Because Garrett
Gerloff, you can
Gerloff,
see him here. He's hung out on the left-hand side. Sorry to interrupt you, Greg.
Yeah.
He's hung up there on the left-hand side just because he doesn't have the ability to just tip the bike in.
So 2:33.081 by Garrett Gerloff, the fastest lap of the race so far. So 2:33.8. So you got to figure that even if they were able to do 2:20s by the end of this race, you're only talking about a 13-second per lap difference with only 4 laps to go. So it was a gamble by the M4 team to do this. However, this race is not over by any stretch of the imagination, because if Garrett Gerloff or JD Beach really start to cook these tires, you're going to see lap times drop off significantly. But right now, Garrett Gerloff is doing a great job. Keep setting fastest splits of the race. We expect to see another fastest lap of the race when Garrett Gerloff comes across the stripe one more time.
Just to put it in perspective for you, Greg, the last time that Valentin de Bees went through, he did a 2:56.1. The guys in front are doing 2:33s.
So 20
seconds a lap. It's just going to be too much in a 7-lap race, especially now we've only got 4 to go. Connor Blevins has moved past all of these guys, got himself ahead of Benny Solis now. So that could be Connor Blevins moving up to 4th, I believe, Greg. He's in that battle for 4th overall and leading Superstock along with Shane Richardson. Those guys are battling for 1st and 2nd in the Superstock category.
Jason Farrell in 3rd spot on that Kawasaki, the 861 on that Farrell Performance US Chrome ZX6R. And right now, last time by, Farrell did a 2:37, but Connor Blevins a 35, JC Camacho a 36. So they're starting to reel in the 3rd place rider, Farrell, who's on a Supersport machine. First time we've seen him this year.
And poor Jason, he's out there searching for anything wet also, you know.
Anything that he can find. A little bit of moisture on the track will help to cool these tires down. I think, really, besides the big puddle in the back, that it's looking pretty bleak to find really good water. As you can see, it's now just sitting on the surface. So we expect to start seeing some crazy times coming out of those M4 Suzuki riders. But with about 3.5 laps to go in this one, it's Gerloff, Beach, Farrell, Solis, Blevins, Shane Richardson. And here we go. A good battle going on back here in the field, as we can see that M4 X-Star Suzuki team, a couple of iterations of that team, obviously, like we talked about, M4 Ridiculous Racing Suzuki as well, with the big gamble on the day.
And that's what you got to do sometimes, you know, as a team and as a team crew and a manager, you can sometimes have to take a gamble. There's a big lead now, obviously, by Garrett Gerloff and JD Beach, but
You see him go through the puddle?
Yeah, they're looking for those puddles. But what Chris and that crew did down there is, hey, sometimes you're a hero when this kind of stuff happens, and we've seen it before. And we still have 4 laps to go. There could still be a red flag. There could still be a number of things. Look at this big battle for 4th overall, 3rd overall now, as they have caught Jason Farrell as they head down to the Canada corner. Benny Solis, Shane Richardson, and Connor Blevins are all on the back of Jason Farrell now.
Farrell, 861. Solis, 35. Blevins, 37. Shane Richardson, number 26. Ooh. Camacho, 91.
Benny just had a big moment.
Yeah,
there's Camacho going up. He's had a great year.
And there's the 21, Brandon Posh.
Jason Aguilar just behind. That's going to, if Jason just finishes where he's at right now, that's going to get him some points. I know he's 17 points back. It's going to just move him a little bit closer with those 2 guys out of the points right now.
Now keep in mind that the way the points are scored in Supersport, it is the overall finish, but they lump into their Superstock 600 championship. So right now, Shane Richardson's in 4th. Shane Richardson now looks like they've reeled in. Yeah, so he moves up to 4th as Benny Solis moved into 3rd. So now the North Hollywood, California resident of Benito Solis on that Team H35 Honda CBR 600 RR takes over the spot as Farrell starts to get swallowed up. And Shane Richardson still holding on to a good position. So Richardson right now leading the Superstock 600 battle. They get their own podium, by the way. So in that battle, it's Richardson, Blevins, and JC Camacho.
And keep in mind, Shane Richardson was sitting on the other side of the wall when this race very first got started.
Yep.
He was sitting there. His bike wasn't started, so had a problem. Michael Gilbert falls over, causes the red flag. Next thing you know, he's back up here, not only running to win his class, but he's battling for an overall podium at a track he's never seen before. Outstanding stuff.
Looking at timing and scoring, Garrett Gerloff, 2:31.7. Fastest lap of the race again. Just went through sector number 2. and had the fastest split until JD Beach went by. So it doesn't seem that these rain tires, mounted up, soft and gooey as they are really having an effect on lap times too much. And that's really, I think, the opposite of what the M4 Suzuki team was hoping for at this point. So it's still Gerloff and JD Beach. Now Gerloff has a 2-second lead over JD Beach. It's Solis, Shane Richardson, Farrell getting swallowed up. This is a crazy race.
And in fairness, we got fairly late note that it was going to be a 7-lap restart. You know, when Chris was making this decision, they might have thought, Greg, it was going to be a full restart, 11 laps, and then for sure those guys would have a gigantic advantage down there in the Suzuki tent, going with these dry tires. They took this gamble. Now we're going to have 2 laps to go, and I think it's just going to be just too much to make up for those guys in the dry rubber. And you can see JD's pushing awfully hard. He had the fastest second split of the race on this lap, but his teammate has just eked out that gap even just a little bit more. It was 2 seconds when they came by last time, so we'll have to have a look and see what it is when they come through this time. It looks like it's probably stayed the same or grown just a little bit, huh, Greg?
Yeah, it looks like it's grown ever so slightly. We'll find out here. Coming up to the line, Gerloff again, fastest lap of the race. Nope, JD Beach. So just coming to the line, the gap is now settled in at a solid 2.000 seconds as JD Beach went 0.06 of a second quicker than Garrett Gerloff. But the fastest lap of this race, a 2:30.638. On rains in the dry, Jason. That is crazy.
That's crazy. Now we're looking at this crazy battle for third. Look at all this green. A lot of Kawasaki's up in the front in these conditions. So we got Benny Solis running third overall. Connor Blevins and Shane Richardson running first and second in the Superstock class. Now Connor and Benny have raced against each other a little bit out in California. And so they know each other a little bit. And Shane, he's just sitting on the back of those. Then we got the 2 Farrell performance riders, Jody Berry and Jason Farrell, just off the back of these guys. So a lot of dicing going here. Let's see if Connor's stuck in the draft right now. Benny Solis as they head down this back straightaway.
Connor Blevins, 37, tied in points with JC Camacho. 40 adrift of Michael Gilbert, who's not in the race, nor Nick McFadden. Jason Aguilar leading the charge, and Aguilar right now is coming in 9th position, 4th in the Superstock 600 class. Here's the 43 of Caroline Olson, who just lost position. She was in 16th spot overall, but Caroline right now in 17th. That's a new motorcycle for her this weekend.
Brand new bike. She's got Braden Ort right in front of him, right in front of her. I got to meet him at lunch. Really nice guy, and they both are on the new Yamaha R6. One with tuned racing is Braden. Caroline riding for Mean Motorsports. So it's a new bike for her. She'd never seen it till yesterday, and fun conditions to go out and learn a new bike on. And like I said, a lot of these kids and things, they don't have a lot of experience on these tracks that are drying on rain tires. As we get back to the front, Garrett Gerloff has still got the hammer down. He has definitely pulled away this lap, Greg. Right now, he's red in the first 2 segments, which is the fastest of the race. His personal best in the third. That said, Garrett just runs, JD, look at that big spin up by JD as he heads up the hill. But Garrett Gerloff has definitely dropped the hammer, and he's going to be coming by this lap and seeing the white flag lap. There's our battle for third overall, first Superstock. Benny Solis right now holding down to that 3rd place overall. Connor Blevins and Shane Richardson doing their best to try to sneak one of those Kawasaki's past that Honda. But it's good to see some different brands running up front here, both with the Honda and the Kawasaki's.
Important race for Benny Solis as he sits 3rd in points ahead of Valentin DeVries. 37 adrift of Garrett Gerloff, who's leading this championship, who will start to pull away a bit. And this, if Benny Solis can hold on, would be his third place finish in a row as the white flag is flying. We are on the final lap of Supersport Superstock 600 action. A mere 4 miles to navigate here now for Connor Blevins. Can he keep his head about him at this point? Because at this particular junction, it looks like Benny Solis has a bit of a gap.
Well, he's got to really be thinking about, you saw him have a little look over his shoulder to see where Shane Richardson is. This is a chance now that he's got to try to get in the draft of Benny the best he can. If he can, he'll be able to pull away from Shane. You can see they got a little bit of a gap coming out of turn 3 there. If he can get in the draft, that's going to pull him away even more. If he starts messing with Benny too much, it's going to allow Shane to catch right back up on the back of them. But it looks like those Kawasaki Superstock bikes have the measure of the Honda even down that back straightaway there.
Look on by the crew. Of course, the Monster Energy Yamalu YS Graves Yamahas. Garrett Gerloff and JD Beach have had their way since the beginning of this race. And of course, last time by, Garrett Gerloff set the fastest lap of the race again at 29.753.
And Valentin finally shows up on our screen in 18th at a 2:31.1, so the track is definitely now coming in. I wouldn't be surprised to see this be the fastest lap of the race from Valentin himself, but unfortunately, if he had 4 more laps, Greg, it would have made a big difference for him. This guy here is just doing everything he can to bring this bike home. He's opened up his gap now, 2.2 on the last lap, and it's grown even bigger. He's found that big puddle down the back straightaway, as has JD Beach. He's just trying to get this bike back.
Final couple corners into Canada corner comes the number 1 of Garrett Gerloff. And wow, he's going so fast. There's even some lap traffic ahead of him. By the way, Valentin DeBees, 1 minute and 16 seconds behind the leader. So not taking as much lean angle as before. I think he knows he's got that comfortable 2-second gap over JD Beach. The final corner we go for Garrett Gerloff. Can he get this thing out and upright? And it looks like those Dunlop tires are worked. But they've held together and done a great job as Garrett Gerloff now comes up to the line, hands in the air from his crew, and he takes the checkered flag and the win and sets the fastest lap of the race on the last lap. A 2:29.372 to put a stamp on it for the number 1 plate.
That's a big win for Garrett. That's a great job, well done for Garrett Gerloff and the whole team. And here you go, the battle for 3rd overall. Connor Blevins is in the back of Benny Solis, so tight right now. Shane Richardson, after sitting on the sidelines, is going to put it on the podium in Superstock. Benny Solis going to finish 3rd. Connor Blevins 4th. Shane Richardson 5th. That's your battle for 1st and 2nd with those red number plates. Connor Blevins 1st win. You're going to have Jody Berry finishing 6th with Jason Farrell 7th.
Hey, and this is why we race, folks. Who would ever thought an aging CBR 600 RR, as we've proven on a time and time again, down on horsepower on the Suzuki and on the Yamaha, would be able to finish 3rd here at Road America, the 4-mile circuit with the long drag strips up and down this racetrack. But it's Gerloff, JD Beach, Benny Solis, 1, 2, 3. They will stand on that Supersport podium, and on the Superstock 600 podium, Connor Blevins with the win. Shane Richardson in 2nd. And by the way, Shane was pushing hard, Jason. He set his personal fastest lap of the race on the final lap. And then JC Camacho in 8th place overall will finish ahead of Jason Aguilar in 9th. So real interesting to see how these points are really going to shape up here in the Superstock 600 battle, because it started to have a little bit of gap. We'll have to hopefully get a word with Michael Gilbert if he's okay, and find out if he's going to be able to start that race tomorrow, because Gilbert, also an editor at Sport Rider magazine, by the way, he has a full-time gig, was out of it. There's a look at Valentin DeBees, and obviously he's always got a smile on his face.
He's got the best attitude, does Valentin.
14th, by the way.
And he did his fastest lap, 2:29.4. He passed 4 guys on the last lap.
Almost, so, just of a 1/10 of a second, like you were predicting.
Brandon
1/10 of a second slower. Brandon Cleland, yep.
And again, this is going to be an experience thing for him. He's out on DOTs, and he's going to bring this bike across the line. Tough conditions, man. Really, really hard conditions. I do not fault Chris and the whole crew, M4 crew down there, for doing what they did. They took a gamble, they took a chance, and had this thing turned out a different way, it would have been, they would have all looked like heroes. And you can see Daytona Anderson also coming across. So all those guys struggled a little bit. It was a gamble that they felt they needed to take. They all tried it, and you know, on another day, it could have worked.
Absolutely, it was a great gamble to take, especially with their position in the championship. Valentin DeBees has said he doesn't care. He just wants to go out and win races. And in this particular situation, they did, man. They rolled the dice. Didn't pay off, but it certainly paid off for Garrett Gerloff. We'll take a break and come back to Road America in a moment.